Welcome to Module 4 of the Couple and Family Religion and Spirituality Competency Training. In the first session, we began with the humorous Mark Twain quip that drew a parallel between RS training and the weather, that we don't do anything about either. Both produce frequent conversations about religion and spirituality, but clinicians report that training and practice are rare. In this module, we will turn our attention towards action. This fourth module is focused on professional and ethical interventions addressing religion and spirituality in couple and family therapy.
We want to create therapeutic action plans and engagement strategies. You might call it a mental map to use with clients' RS traditions, values, and even RS tensions as part of the treatment plan. The hope is that each clinician completing this series will be able to use the RS commitments and traditions as a leveraging tool towards the family goals. Religion and spirituality is an asset to be used, not a conversation to be avoided.
Within the tradition of system therapy is a surprise, the unexpected. Couples and families find or develop solutions where they are not looking. Systems theories teach us that problems and their solutions are not caused nor solved by the individuals. Rather, both problems and solutions are found in the space between people. Clients expect blame to be found in a person and are surprised to discover that it's found in a space between people. There's the surprise.
The great contribution to the mental health field by the systemic theorists is understanding we can easily cast blame for problems on an individual, and we wrongly seek to extract solutions from people. So the systemic change is in the word between. The RS traditions within families can be a resource to help therapists relocate their focus on the between position.
Systemic approaches are useful to create appropriate interventions when there are religious and spiritual themes occurring. To the unprepared therapist, the RS themes can pull the clinician into the family conflict, making their differences, the religious or the spiritual problem, the cause of the conflict. RS becomes the problem. And because the couple or family's commitment to immovable RS values, then the whole system grinds to a hopeless and immutable halt. Consider the problem expressed by David and Bindi in this case scenario.
David is a Jewish man, age 30. He has a son with his ex-girlfriend, with whom he was in grad school. Their current relationship is amicable. He has weekend custody. And he works as a chemist in Boston. He does not believe in God or practice his Jewish faith, but appreciates the legacy and history. He is engaged to Bindi, age 29, a Hindu woman who is a pharmacist. She does practice her faith with her family, who also live in Boston. Bindi's family came from Mumbai, India, to the United States before she was born. They are a proud family who have succeeded in the United States after the parents' investment and sacrifice. Bindi and her siblings are all professionals. The family is respected in the Hindu community. They are from the Brahmin caste, and the father was favored by a guru in the Boston area. The couple is living together and planning a wedding in another year. They seek counseling because of disagreements about wedding plans and about religion. David is glad to have a Hindu wedding because religion isn't important to him, but his mother refuses to attend the wedding if it doesn't include some Jewish traditions. It's an insult to her family and faith. Words like sacrilege and desecration were used by David's mother at a family meal recently. Bindi states that she can't sleep or eat out of anxiety over the problem. She feels so stressed with the extended family tension. David minimizes the problem, saying that none of their families even really believe in a god or gods. Bindi finds this very offensive and disrespectful. In an individual meeting with a therapist, David confesses that he has thought about trying to reconcile with his ex, with whom he shares a son, and leave this relationship due to the stress around religion in their families. He wonders if they will be able to withstand pressures. Bindi is lost and deeply frightened of losing the man she has loved for several years. Prior to engagement, the families got along great and religion wasn't an issue. You can see the storm brewing for David and Bindi, and the rain and the wind and the waves press them from all sides. Both are prompted to jump out of the boat. Because they can't alter their family's religious traditions, the storm must be the marriage. Maybe it's a bad idea. Maybe one could drown in this boat. They wonder if their family religions are the unchangeable reality, and maybe they were foolish to even think of marriage.
This is a retelling of the Romeo and Juliet story. Religion here replaces politics in Shakespeare's drama. The circumstances tell them that relational destruction is the only way out, and that religious differences are the cause. Take the poison, drive the dagger. Reflect on your own reactions to their relational circumstances. The story might elicit responses such as, run, get away, or stand and fight. Parents or religions that you no longer hold to shouldn't dictate your decisions. Or, it's hard now, it'll be harder later. As clinicians, we want to reflect on these internal emotional responses to religious content as we walk through this case.
So when couples enter therapy, they bring chaos crammed in their purses, packs, and pockets. They dump the contents on the floor of the counseling office as if to be shared with the therapist. Complexity is magnified when religious or spiritual themes are part of that chaos. Fundamentally, the reason for the magnification is that religion is so unchangeable, so traditional, and so sacred. So, like the family, the therapist can also be duped into believing that the problem is about it, the religious difference, rather than the recursive patterns established by the families of origin. RS conflicts can easily promote the therapist to focus on it rather than the core themes established by couple and family theory.
Let's briefly review the 4 systems therapist attitudes to help address spiritual tensions and issues. This is the mnemonic, nuns and monks dance every day. The N, maintain a non-anxious presence. Second, the M, use multi-directional partiality. Third, the dance, employ differentiation around the RS issue. And finally, the E, engage in both exclusion and embrace. We will use these principles to construct an intervention with David and Bindi, and we'll explain each step.
The first component is maintaining a non-anxious presence. All couple and family theories teach that the problem in families is the recursive relational patterns which are used to hold a family hostage. RS traditions can serve to keep the family as it is. But the focus and intent of every faith and transcendent tradition is not to hold their adherents hostage, but to free them to a deeper and more effective life. This means that RS can be used to break the patterns instead of retaining immature functioning.
Recursive systems are chaotic. Family members seek to stabilize the system through a variety of panicked actions, such as asserting control, locking out opposing members, or giving up and claiming to walk away. The RS tradition can be used by every family member to their own ends and goals. RS serves as a weapon to gain control by each member. Notice the various uses of their RS values on the family. The therapist's role is to maintain a non-anxious presence in the midst of the chaos. These are the voices of David and Bindi's family.
I don't really care about any of this. I don't believe in God. I am happy to have a Hindu wedding. I will act like a neutral, cooperative member. But if there's a problem, it's yours because I don't care.
I'm overwhelmed by having to choose between my fiancé and my Hindu tradition and family. It leaves me feeling anxious, weak, lost, and frightened. I invite others to assert themselves to rescue me.
If I don't get my way, I won't show up. I will use my Judaism to leverage both families for my benefit. I may be disregarded in other settings, but not here.
We must maintain the respect and prestige drawn from our Hindu culture and supported and approved by our community. We cannot bring shame to ourselves through this wedding. Look how you're hurting our precious Bindi.
Drawing from transgenerational theory, Edwin Friedman described the primary task, which is to model courage, which he refers to as nerve. He reminds us that families in recursive patterns are not able to exhibit self-regulation. The non-anxious presence draws the family away from easy, simplified explanations of the issue. We must be sure that we are acting out also of differentiation of self and not getting pulled into an unhealthy coalition with any one or more members of the family. So in the case of David and Bindi, and the mother-in-law who's using religious differences to triangulate the family.
The therapist with a strong, non-anxious, secure voice to use the RS family tradition to establish a calming presence. One does not have to be an expert in that faith tradition. A response to Bindi could have been, what have you learned about stress, the path of life, coping with challenges that are greater than you from your family and faith tradition? How and when have you placed your trust in what you believe when the path was difficult and you couldn't see the end? Basarmini Naj suggested in contextual family therapy that the therapeutic alliance is created through the display of multi-directed partiality. It is attending, affirming, and supporting in the presence of the full family system. The mother-in-law is not the enemy. The blame does not rest on a person, but the problem exists between people. The RS tradition are reframed as a resource for the problem of needing peace.
Through multi-directed partiality, the therapist can convey, I am drawn to you as you are. All the while, we remain different from one another. And I am drawn to you also in the presence of this problem. And the mothers and the fathers and Bindi and David. In fact, I, as the therapist, am attached and aligned with each of you. And I believe that individually, each of you have faced more complicated issues than this one and have figured these issues out. And now you'll address this challenge together. The family sees faith tradition as the problem. Instead, you can offer that faith could be the solution. How would you say it, Jim?
David and Bindi, it's easy to see your family's tradition as the cause of the family disagreement. Let's think of it as the solution that you can bring back to your family. Right now there's chaos, there's argument, there's strife. But chaos creation is neither the Hindu nor the Jewish promise. You aren't Hindu because you want chaos. You're Hindu or you're Jewish because in that tradition there are solutions to the chaotic world that you all know. Both religions convey assurance of peace. So I wonder what you could convey back to your family to reflect that peace drawn from these two respective traditions. You can stop right there and let them figure it out. Or you could keep going with an added prompt. For example, it says in Isaiah, in a time of great calamity, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast and they trust in you. There is from the Jewish tradition the sense of, as a result of trusting or exercising your faith, you can experience this peace. Likewise, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is written, and you shall soon become pure and reach everlasting peace. For this is my word of promise, that he who loves me shall not perish. This is Krishna chapter 9, verse 31.
Reframing the problem will also increase alliance. It is easy to think of alliance formation as a really simple task. After all, couple and family therapists are good with people. Joining families is what we do. But not so fast. The members have competing themes and competing agendas. And these two religious traditions are two subsystems that are part of both families. For a clinician to join the religious subsystem, but that's not to join the actual religion. Rather, it is to embrace the positive role that the religious system has on maintaining the problem. And we are to embrace how the subsystem can be an ally in unbalancing the family and reconstituting a new balance with a new solution. David and Bindi's religions can influence the system towards balance and goodness.
The systemic therapeutic alliance is meant to be inclusive of everybody. Even David's mother, the antagonist in this story. Using words such as sacrilege and desecration, she makes herself an easy target for any outside observer to ridicule the family's religious tradition. We might want to encourage David to part ways with his mother in what might be labeled as her childish tantrum, minimizing her role. Perhaps there is a natural, non-therapeutic voice inside of us that wants to say to David very loudly, just forget about the religious tradition. But to do so would break alliances and possibly create havoc for David and his family for decades. Instead, the therapeutic response is to align with each person and with their faith tradition or their atheism, as if they were honored elder in the family.
The problem is seen as a conflict of religious system. A reframing can be to ask all of them, how does your religious system provide guidance in conflict? If Judaism and Hinduism are the problem, then it's a hopeless situation. But if Judaism and Hinduism are the solutions, then they can all grow and learn and solve. This religion is cause mentality that is easy to fall into, suggests that all Hindu and Jewish marriages are conflicted. All interreligious marriages would be conflicted. None are successful. No one with such a relationship could ever be happy. Every couple that has joined Hindu and Jewish families regret that decision. All of them, because they all carry the same label, and the label is conflict. But alternatively, we see a different goal, that the religious traditions can become a source of resolution. So the couple might say, we come from different religious traditions. When there is family disagreement, our religious traditions teach us about how to live well and with others in the presence of difference. We will use our faith traditions to bring healing to our new family, drawing from the wisdom of both Hinduism and Judaism. The religious traditions are deep and they're rich, and the life tools taught from these traditions are robust and they're useful. They have resources from their family faith traditions and that others might not have.
David and Bindi can create enmeshing change with the families of origin and make their religious ideas. As a couple, their task is to define themselves as a new generation and as a couple. They are connected to their families, but they are also different from each other and their families. They are connected to each other, but also differentiated. Differentiation is the family theory process of maintaining a strong sense of self, while curiously engaging in relationship with those who are different or have different points of view. Differentiation declares, I am not you, but I am close to you. The problem that you have is yours. You are responsible for it, but I can help. The problem that I have is mine. I must address it, but I am grateful for your assistance. In the case of Bindi and David, they are not differentiated. They react unhealthily. Bindi might be enmeshed with all aspects of her family, unable to tolerate differences in the generations and differences with her fiancé. David takes the other path. He tries to disengage. Neither approach assists the family in forming healthy bonds, but respecting individual decisions. If they can engage in differentiated conversations, then they can learn more about each other's religious principles, how those are important to each other, and their extended families. They can search for points of continuity and similarities while respecting the unique contributions of each religion.
The fourth component is to challenge exclusion and value embrace. Now, in the current scenario, that doesn't seem possible because the negative emotions stirred by the different religious beliefs trigger anger, control, withdrawal, and manipulation. But every couple and family therapy model suggests that the therapist can use specific interventions and tasks to create a sense of clarity in both belonging and separateness. Members of the family belong together, but they are also unique individuals at the same time. When people are connected, they communicate more effectively and they collaborate with greater ease. They can be genuinely relaxed during a family event, such as this wedding that's coming up.
We suggest that the respective RS traditions be used in such a way to build cooperation across differences. Imagine if the therapist creates a redirection that builds cohesion within the family by two directives. First, the therapist asks David to make the wedding as, quote, Hindu as possible, end quote, knowing that he personally doesn't care, but that he designs the ceremony for Bindi. Second, the therapist asks Bindi to strive to join David's family by making their wedding as, quote, Jewish as can be. In this way, they're both embracing differences in a way that is both distinct and related.
Yale theologian Miroslav Volf wrote the book Exclusion and Embrace, and he writes of how groups in conflict might use divergent religious traditions to create harmony. He argues that, quote, we are who we are not because we are separate from the others who are next to us, but because we are both separate and connected, both distinct and related. The boundaries that mark our identities are both barriers and bridges.
One last thought in this lesson. When David and Bindi do everything as suggested here in this lesson, someone will, without a doubt, sabotage the whole thing. It might pop up with an aunt or a cousin or within the couple themselves. Each person can sabotage it all. Therapists must prepare both of them with this inevitable occurrence.
So in anticipation of this event, we close with Edwin Friedman's courageous and non-anxious guidance. Quote, this kind of emotional climate can only be dissipated by clear, decisive, well-defined leadership. For whenever a family is driven by anxiety, what will also always be present, there is a failure of nerve among its leaders. And I am convinced that to the extent leaders of any family or institution are willing to make a lifetime commitment to their own continued self-regulated growth, that they can make any leadership theory or technique look brilliant. Sabotage is not merely something to be avoided or wished away. Instead, it comes with the territory of leading, whether the territory is a family or an organization. And the leader's capacity to recognize sabotage for what it is, that is a systemic phenomenon connected to the shifting balances in the emotional processes of a relationship system, and not to the institution-specific issues, makeup, or goals, that is the key to the kingdom.
Let's review our big ideas so far. This fourth module focused on applying the four great ideas about the therapist's attitudes from family systems theory. Maintaining a non-anxious presence, multidirectional partiality, ego differentiation, and exclusion and embrace. This is the nuns and monks dance every day mnemonic.
The first module was all about self-reflection of our comfort with RS and therapy. And the mnemonic device for that module was CC, our cultural comfort level, consider our expertise in the religion, work within our competency, and maintain ethical boundaries.
In the second module, we introduce 4 great ideas that have come from the research on religion and spirituality in couple and family psychology. Religious coping, sanctification, forgiveness and humility, and prayer. At first look, these all seem positive, but they each can be, at times, positive or negative, and as a therapist, you need to keep attending to how they are being used by couples and families. This is the Can Someone Find Peace mnemonic.
And the third module identified 4 great ideas about religious and spiritual assessment. RS assessment can be done simply in several basic questions with the IPRI mnemonic, asked directly as part of diversity assessment and used in the conceptualization.